Japan becomes the second country to report a case of the Wuhan virus outside of China. The first case was found in Thailand, and the latest case was found in a Chinese citizen who lives near Tokyo. He had returned from a visit to Wuhan. He was discharged after his symptoms subsided. Well, for more on the threat posed by the Wuhan virus, we're joined by Dr. Leong Hoe Nam, infectious diseases physician from Mount Elizabeth Novena Specialist Center. Thank you very much, Dr. Leong, for joining us. First up, how worried should we be about the virus, since it's now surfacing in Japan? Because after all, people do travel a lot during the holidays, and the Chinese New Year holiday is just coming up.
No, I wouldn't be too exceptionally worried. I think we need a bit of time to understand more of the virus, what's the nature. But so far, what's coming out from the news and out in the Chinese media is another virus like a cough cold, which we are familiar with, that attacks the lungs. We know it is spreading from person to person, and it seems to be spreading out of Wuhan. But I'm not worried at this point in time. Please go ahead to Japan, enjoy the sakuras, go to Thailand and drink the tom yums.
Dr. Leong, you say that we need more time to understand this virus, but are measures like having thermal scanners at immigration points, at airports, etc., enough to spot imported cases? Is there an incubation period, perhaps, where the carrier of the virus can't be detected?
That's a very good question. I think the thermal scanners are needed. We need a form of assurance for the public that something's being done. Number two, when the people come through Singapore, they're aware that Singapore is in high alert about Wuhan pneumonia. Now, but the thermal scanners alone are definitely not enough. As you realize, there's an incubation period of between up to 5 days or even 14 days. Looking at all the other coronaviruses we are familiar with, the incubation period is about 5 days up to 14 days. Hence, even though the person passes through the thermal scanner with no issues, you may end up with fever, cough, and pneumonia days later. However, the thermal scanners tell the message to the travelers that we are concerned about it, and if you are sick, please go and see a doctor and get examined for the unusual pneumonia from Wuhan, and if it turns out positive, get treatment. And that's the message and consistent message we want to pass on to the travelers as well as the Singaporeans returning back. Identify yourself, inform the authorities, and to seek medical help. The earlier we find you, the earlier you can get treatment and the prevention of transmission to other places.
All right, Dr. Leong, speaking of the prevention, so how can people protect themselves from contracting this virus then?
Now, you have to understand that this is not the first coronavirus. You are familiar with SARS, which is a coronavirus, MERS, another one, as well as several other coronaviruses. They all behave very similarly. And in truth, if you wear the surgical mask, the ones which you see, which is green with the ear loops, you will prevent yourself from getting sick. And the mask will similarly work for those with the illness, and you prevent yourself from spreading it to other people. So wearing masks will help. Number two, get yourself good hand hygiene. Wash your hands and keep your hands clean. Think of your face as sacred and don't touch any part of your face when you're traveling. So wear a mask, keeping hands clean will be fine. Theoretically, if Wuhan pneumonia actually hits Singapore and all of us were to wear a mask for 14 days, we can actually push off and lock out the virus totally.
Dr. Leong, it's always a concern when we start seeing severe respiratory diseases like this cropping up anywhere in the world. Why are we seeing the likes of this Wuhan virus, MERS and SARS and so on?
You must understand that there are many, many viruses out there in nature. And as humans encroach into the animal kingdom, some of these viruses will come over. That's the first thing. This Wuhan virus, or the likes of other coronaviruses, have been circulating around. Number two, these viruses will continually mutate to try to adapt to a better host. In this case, it probably was adapted very well to the animal host originally, came across a human, and there was a suitable mutation that jumped across the species barrier, allowing the transmission onto a person. However, the third mutation must happen such that it must spread easily from person to person. Now, understand that viruses will sacrifice the entire population except one virus as long as one of them works, and they will continually mutating to try to adapt to a new host. Now, we've heard of SARS, we've heard of MERS, we now have Wuhan, and I can assure you, before the end of my lifetime, there'll be another NAS, BARS, CARS, or whatever. There will be new and new viruses coming in. Viruses are here and they will adapt to us. What's important is that we learn to identify them quickly, be very open and transparent about it, share the information across the very, very porous world which we have now. And number 4, be cooperative with the medical authorities so they can get treatment fast and prevent further spread.
Dr. Leong, thank you very much for sharing that perspective with us. We've been speaking to Dr. Leong Hoe Nam, infectious diseases physician from the Rofi Clinic at Mount Elizabeth Novena Specialist Center.